Hi guys, it's Bill, back for another exciting recipe. This one's actually kind of cool and fun. I used to go to a Cuban restaurant when I would travel down south for business, and I always got the same thing, this Ropa Vieja, and I would never imagine how to make it. Well, so actually my brother-in-law showed me how to make it. He made it for us for dinner one night, and it's been like nagging me to like come up with this recipe. Um, so it's kind of funny. I got to give him thumbs up for getting me hooked on it and bringing back something I always really liked. But here's a little twist. So I went crazy on St. Patty's Day, or before St. Patty's Day. I bought all these brisket because they were half off at the store. And every time you got one, there was $1 off coupon. So I mean, it was like so cheap. So I kept going back and buying more and more and more. I had brisket, like I think I still got a couple more in the freezer. So I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do with them all. But anyway, so I always roast my brisket in the oven, wrap it in tin. You know, you put the little spice packet, and I use a little Dijon mustard. And so to kind of get this recipe back to what you need, because it's still brisket, it's still really corned beef technically. How I'm going to make this for this recipe? So what I did was I took the brisket and I cut off the fat cap so that we just want the meat, right? And then what I did is I put in a pot with 2 bay leaves, some black pepper, a couple cloves of garlic, some Italian parsley, a tablespoon of allspice, and I had some carrots. So I put some carrots in the pot just because I wanted to kind of sweeten it up, kind of bring in some really good flavor. Added water, a couple cups of water, and just simmered it for an hour. So when you take it out, it looks like this. It's now cooled. Basically, you're just going to take your forks and you're just going to kind of, this is what, you know, shredded beef's all about, right? And it's actually pretty easy. As you can see, I have no special talent for doing this. Just keep cleaning your fork. Got them big gator or grizzly claws or whatever they use for when you're doing like big things of pork shoulder. That could probably work too. But this is just a really cool recipe. Alright, that's done. And I would have done this up ahead of time, but you know, some things you do, people are like, oh, I could never do that. Yeah, you can. Yeah, you can. Of course, I've already broke one of my rules. I usually put a silicone mat under here so it's not sliding off the counter and breaking. And it really kind of changes the whole complexity. I like to, like I said, roast corned beef, but then you really need to kind of boil it for this. Just keep moving around. And trust me, after this is done cooking in the pot, it's going to be just so tender. I mean, this is really tender. It's so delicious. And I had a pretty good size brisket here, so I had cut in a couple pieces so it'd be easier to handle before I simmered it. I like tossing a salad. There we go. Yeah, perfect. Okay, so doesn't that look good? Now I can just set that aside. And let's get started with making my Ropa Vieja. Yoo-hoo! So I've got a pot here. I want a pretty good sized pot, and you need one with a lid. I'm really kind of generous with the old olive oil. I think the recipe actually called for a 1/4 cup. But I don't know if I need a 1/4 cup, but I definitely want to coat the bottom here. Look at how heavy this puppy pan is. Yeah. Nice flame. Good olive oil. These are the silicone mat I did get out so I could put under the bowl. But you'll probably always see these in the background because I do love them. I mean, they keep everything from moving. Alright. So it's really pretty simple. Now that we've gotten the meat cooked, and if you had a brisket uncooked, you know, I could basically use the same technique, but you'd have to cook it for like 2.5 hours. I don't know. I like to bake them. Sorry. Someone's probably going, oh, I can't believe how stupid he is. All right. So I took an onion. That's pretty toasty. I took an onion. I sliced it really. Well, I was cutting my onion in half because I want to see, make sure there's nothing growing in the middle or there aren't bad spots. And then I sliced it really thin. Then I took 4 cloves of garlic and I crushed and minced them down really fine. Then I mashed them in with half a teaspoon of salt, half a teaspoon of pepper, and a teaspoon of allspice because you want all that really good flavor. It's funny, I was really noticing that when you cook, when I was cooking the brisket, how that allspice really comes out. So I just want to get everything to start perfume, you know, fill the air with goodness. And this is going to simmer for a while, so we don't have to really worry about it. Everything's going to get well incorporated. Just want to make sure I'm just softening up the onion. Alright. Love is in the air, let me tell you. This is like great. Alright, so now what do we have to put in? I reserved the stock from when I simmered the corned beef. I just want about a cup. I put 2 cups in and I got about 1.25 cups out. And I have the rest I have saved just in case. Turn that up. Even though that was hot, pouring liquid in there really brought down that temperature, so I turned it up, so I want to get it back up there before I keep adding stuff. I need about a cup of, and you can eyeball it. This happens, I was going to say, usually use like a 14-ounce can. This is a 15-ounce. I don't know how that got changed. Should use a tomato puree. Guess what? Couldn't find it in a small can, so I'm using just tomato sauce. That's absolutely fine. And eyeball that. I left just a little bit in there. I literally left that much in there, so guess what? I'm just going to use it. It's not going to hurt anything. Like I said, we're just going to take a little bit of time, make sure everything gets back to its boiling self. While I'm waiting, I'm going to grab maybe about a quarter cup of dry white wine. This happens to be a Sauvignon Blanc. I put in the fridge. Just a quarter cup. That's probably just a little, that's pretty close. Simmer, simmer. If when you're trying to get the spices and the garlic, if you have a mortar and pestle, that would be fine. I literally just use a fork. I don't know if you've ever made Caesar salad dressing, but you basically just take a fork and you mush the garlic up in a bowl, and that works just absolutely fine. My pan got too cold. But it is coming back to life because I can start to smell. The aroma is just such a part of it. You know, that's why you need that's why the kitchen needs to be like in the dining room, so that people can smell it, make them so hungry. I mean, I like open kitchen design, which mine is, because people can kind of gather around the bar and, you know, just get like so caught up in the whole thing. My grandfather used to make spaghetti sauce all the time for big parties. And you take forever making it. And he says, well, the reason is because A, you want everyone to have enough liquor in them, and B, by the time they've been like just overwhelmed with the smell of the food cooking, they're just ravenously hungry. All right, enough of that story, right? So what do we got here? The jalapenos were huge, so I just really thinly sliced up one. Would be like 2 regular size jalapenos. I have a teaspoon of cumin and a bay leaf, and you see, use the bay leaf to get the cumin out, right? I make sure I do not mush up my bay leaf because I want to be able to pick it out. So we're just going to let it soften in there, give off all that good flavor. Now here's where I know whether I've got enough stock in here. Let's go back to my brisket. Timber. And if you're worried about the jalapenos, you could seed it first. I'm going to tell you that it's not going to be overkill because this has to simmer so long. It's going to literally just turn those jalapenos into nothing. Just want to make sure we've got all mixed in. It's really pretty thick here. So at this point, I'm going to pour the rest of my quarter cup of my stock in here because I want enough liquid We can go back to that argument about flat brisket versus point. I use flat. Point has more fat in it, and a little bit more flavor, blah blah blah, but I just find it so much easier and easier to find, and especially when it's on sale. Alright, so what I got this all nicely coated, mixed up. We're going to put a lid on it. Remember, when you put a lid on, we're capturing all that heat. It's going to go crazy under here, so keep an eye, making sure it's not too much. And we need at least 20 minutes. So I'm going to clean up my kitchen and see you back in 20 minutes. Alright, we've had 20 minutes of smelling this wonderful food and like going crazy. And so I just took the lid off because it was like steaming everywhere. And like always, I'm just going to show you that I do not leave the bay leaf in. First thing out. Alright, so how do we, oh man, this is like beautiful. All the shredding is paid off, everything's all nice and mixed up. So only thing left to do is we want to give it a little kick. Not necessarily heat-wise, but just how to set this off. So I have a jar of roasted red peppers, and I just sliced them into some nice thin slices. I'm gonna throw them in here. Gently mix them in because they're kind of delicate. Oh. Tell you a funny story about roasted red peppers. I was in the store and this couple was in there fighting about getting them for some meal they were doing. And I stepped in and said, there is a difference in brand. Like, spend the extra 20 cents, okay? And they're like, oh, we don't need that many. I'm like, okay, so throw away the rest. You will notice a difference. So if you've ever tried them and you're like, I don't see what the big fuss is, try another brand. And most expensive isn't always the best, let me tell you. Okay, so what are we doing here? Oh, I don't know, I'm too hungry. Alright, so my magic box shows me I just put a little rice in here because I just want to take a nice little, show you how this all looks. I can do this without getting all over the place. Just grab some of this meat, juice. Oh. I mean, that is so beautiful. Let's get some of the red pepper and jalapeno and oh. Piece of jalapeno. So I'm absolutely telling you that this is authentic. I've obviously, made a few little changes to it, but this is absolutely wonderful. It's like fork tender, really, really good. The corned beef was really good. The brisket that I had. And like I said, just take that extra time and shave off the fat cap so that you don't have all that grease in there. But this is something really, really good and really, really, really fun to make. Because that's what we like, the things that are fun to make. Alright, like I always say, thank you for watching. Please subscribe, please comment, and ring the notification bell up. And I'll see you next time. Have a great day.